Okay, right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, councillors. Just a few of you on there. You guys, we're starting.
Thank you. Talking.
Right, okie dokie. Before we move on to the main body of the agenda, I'd like to take the opportunity to welcome Vicky Boyd-Power and Roger Fleet as new councillors. Hope you enjoy the next year and a half before you put yourself in front of the electorate yet again. So you're very, very welcome. Okay, so apologies for absence.
Thank you, Chairman. I've received apologies from Councillor Davies, Councillor Heath, Councillor Mrs Denison and Councillor Brown. And Councillor Hutton's informed me she's probably going to be late. She's coming from Manchester.
Right.
Thank you. Councillor Burns, who's Councillor Still.
One of the statistics.
Yeah, well, again, send her our best wishes. All right, anyone else? That's it, yeah. Thank you very much. Okay, right, declarations of interest is item 2 on the agenda, which I'll get to now, so I will. Members are reminded that in accordance with the Localism Act 2011, they are required to declare any disclosable pecuniary interests which have not already been declared in the Council's Register of Interests. It's a criminal offence not to declare a disclosable pecuniary interest either in the register or at the meeting. Whilst not a legal requirement, in accordance with the Council Procedure Rule 10 and in the interest of clarity and transparency, members should declare any disclosable pecuniary interest which they have already declared in the register at this point in the meeting. In accordance with Part B, Section 2 of the Code of Conduct, members are required to declare the existence and nature of any other interest as defined in Paragraph 8.1 and 9 of the Code of Conduct. Take a breath. Any declarations? Councillor?
I'm going to declare an interest in item 5, Planning Development and Environment Committee, as I sit on the City Council planning.
Okay. Councillor?
Item 5 again, just the same as Claire, on the planning committee.
Councillor Parson?
Item 8, I'm a Lancashire County Council.
Thank you. Councillor Lewis?
Item 8, in accordance with my employment with Lancashire County Council.
Thank you.
Item 5, and member of the Manchester City Council planning.
Thank you very much. John?
There are also references further in different parts to the involvement in joint operations with the business improvement district, of which I am a board member. In all their interest there.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much.
I'm also a member of Morecambe Mid.
Morecambe Mid. Thank you.
One planning committee. Is that?
Or doesn't count if you're on our planning committee, that's okay. Yeah, as long as it's not on one of yours, you're all right. Thanks, Roger. Right, lovely. Right, let's move on to item 3 then, if there are no further declarations. That's to approve the minutes of the meeting of council held on the 16th of November 2017. You'll find them on pages 2 to 11 of your supporting papers pack. Are there any questions or comments or amendments that are required prior to moving on? Jim?
Yeah, sorry, I've come to make the meeting. I thought that I'd emailed all members to send me apologies. I found out today that it's telling me Xbox, so I apologise for not apologising.
Fair enough. Thank you for clarifying that, Jim.
I've got some comments about agenda item number 5.
Is it a comment that it's inaccurate or?
No, it's a query. Well, it's a query, shall we say?
Okay. On the basis of it being inaccurate or on the basis of something else?
My comments go further than what was said in there.
It's not the case.
No, you don't get. Depends what it is. You don't get to rerun the debate if that's.
No. Far from it.
Maybe try and clarify that. What page are you on?
21.
What? No. And it goes between 2 and 11 in the minutes.
Right, mine's for the present agenda.
Right, okay, so that's...
That was a hell of a private meeting.
That's fine, I'll never get back. Right. Would somebody like to move the minutes as a true record in that case? And thank you, Terry. That's what we're going to do. And secondly, Councillor Costa, thank you very much. Can we vote on that? All those in favour of accepting them as a tree record, therefore?
Obviously.
Thank you, you and no worries. That's clearly carried. Thank you very much. Okay. Right, next item is item 4, which is the public participation part of the agenda. Before I adjourn, just to make sure that we don't adjourn for no reason, are there any people who would like to take part in the public participation part of the agenda? So, got 3. Mr. Atack, Mr. Barber, Mr. Williams. Right, again, just to clarify, this is all on the basis of what's on the agenda this evening. You get 3 minutes to speak to council, and we will obviously be in a position to make some comment at some point, even if we can't answer any queries this evening. So I'll take them in the order that they happen. So if I can get Mr. Atack up to the front, there's a microphone at the front, Barry, if that's all right, just so that members can hear you.
I've resolved to
Yeah, you can make your way, but it's more of an acoustics thing, Barry, to be honest. Can we resolve to adjourn the meeting? Is that all right?
Yeah.
We're in favour of doing that, right? So standing orders are therefore suspended at this point. Stop chat. Yeah, just that microphone there, thanks. Right. And when you've got a minute left, Barry, I'll tell you you've got a minute left.
Okay.
Right. Over to you, sir.
That's better, switch it on. Well, ladies and gentlemen, good evening, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to outline what the notorious Morecambe Bloomers want to do to ensure that we keep that gold award that we got this year. And I'm sure that we can, because we've got some very good ideas. The first thing is, we want to clear these grub spots at the back, along by the church and where the St Mary's used to be. Them shrubs are far outgrown the usefulness. There's a long border down adjacent to the Catholic Church, and we already have in motion the plans to grow nearly 400 foxgloves and put them in that border, so that when them judges come round that corner, they will be gobsmacked. Then there's another short border with 2 seats on the end. You may be familiar with them. People don't sit on them because they're usually covered in brambles. We wanted to clear that border, plant it up with ornamental elders. They're very decorative. Not only the elders, but beneath them, we want a proper botanical, display. We want bluebells, primulas, and very other woodland plants underbedded. The seats, I want to put 2 fragrant bushes there so it can be appreciated, including more fragrant plants. This won't cost a lot, and we're supposed to have £500 that were contributed by the former Bolton residents. The elders will only cost less than £20 a piece. A lot of the other plants can be raised by Morecambe Bloomers. And then on the grass, when we've got rid of all them old shrubs, I don't say we can do it all at one go. I've been looking for a choice specimen tree, and I've racked all the experience I've had and looked at books, and I've looked at 3 hawthorns. The hawthorn family has about 200 members spread across all of Europe, and a very significant one has 3 RHS awards: Award of Merit, First Class Certificate, and Award of Garden Merit. They're between £30 and £40 a piece. I would like to put 3 on there. You've got your flowers in spring, fruit in the autumn, and then autumn colour. And that's just about it. We're very ambitious. I went down to the West End today to see what Morecambe Bloomers could go down there, because we seem to be all up here. I looked at West Street and Parliament Street. Parliament Street is not very good. There's a lot of trees and shrubs there. But very cheaply you could sow hardy annuals there and have a blaze of colour. I would like to leaflet the area to see if we could get some support down there. Thanks for
and your time's up, and that was perfect. Thank you much, Harry. Councillor Parsons obviously got the naughty right.
Making it game.
We've got a meeting to get on with, guys. Come on. Right. Okay, right, Mr. Barber, if you could join us, 2 or 3 minutes. And once again, I'll give you a 1 minute warning once you get to 2 minutes.
Where am I standing for that, Mr. Chairman?
Just where the microphone is there.
Well, I need to catch your eye, Mr. Chairman.
Well, you're addressing for the whole of council, so.
Okay,
Right.
well, I hope I'm not going to be showing everybody's side. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Mr. Chairman. My interest is on the revised public participation. Seems to me we're not going to be here much longer, we public participators. It's a procedure that seems designed purely to present justified challenges to the way the council sometimes conducts its business. On point B, about living in the area, there could be numerous reasons why a member of the public might wish to address the council when they're not in the area. It could simply be a former resident, a bit concerned about the town, like people you see writing into a visitor. And I seek to remember on this particular point an attempt was made to prevent me from speaking, even though there was no such rule. On C, which is about giving 3 days notice, seems totally unfair on a member of the public, especially a constituent who may be faced with an important issue at short notice and might have to wait a month or 2 to speak. From my own experience, writing in isn't an option, because I'm still waiting for a reply. On part D, on the matter of putting the same question asked for the past 6 months, I'm not guilty of that, Mr. Chairman, but if an answer had been given, the issue would not arise again anyway. Again, this is unfair on the public. Council is perhaps finding certain members of the public difficult. The simple solution is to answer the question. On F, I welcome the addition on this one. These questions will be answered in writing. And just one point on staffing issues, moving on from that one.
We've got 1 minute left, Mr. Darling.
It's okay, I'm nearly there. 3 lines left, Mr. Chairman. On weekly supervision meetings, not quite sure what that means, but I would have thought this is totally impractical and unlikely to take place even when management is part of the staff rather than councillors. It's asking too much of unpaid members in my view. Certainly didn't happen to me in my working life. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you, Mr. Barber.
It's all right, don't follow me. I was too contentious. Thank you.
And finally, Mr. Williams, if you could join us at the front.
Thank you very much for that. That's the most outstanding speech I've ever heard here. It was worth coming.
Again, you have 3 minutes on an item in the agenda, and I'll give you a 1 minute warning when you've done 2 minutes. So, over to you, sir.
Good evening, councillors, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, Happy New Year to you all. Also, I share your concerns about the suppression and oppression with public participation. And thank you for speaking out to the public of Morecambe. But that's what we have councils to do. First of all, my first item, planning application 17, demolition of bush shelter building on Central Drive. This council undertook a public consultation your reaction was to spend £45,000 on public toilets in the Dome area. That bus station terminal was built in 1997 at a cost of £130,000. Lancaster City Council proposing to demolish it. Why has this council not objected to the planning application in view of the feedback received from the public? My second point, expenditure on wards. This council has managed to respond to a Freedom of Information request at the 11th hour. On the 18th of November, I got a response on the 14th of December, one day before the 20-day deadline. In that response, I got a feedback here with the expenditure on each ward throughout the term of this council. This council has, according to the information provided by the clerk, has spent a total in its existence
1 minute left, Mr. Williams.
of £36,000, and for the last 3 financial years it spent nothing in awards according to this disclosure. My other point is also the information that was provided. According to the precept information, this council this year should have received £418,000 in public precepts for this council, yet in your budget is showing £188,000. So my question is, where is the missing £230,000? That's based on the information provided by this council. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
One left at the phone, please.
One's like a phone.
You'll need this,
I
William.
need your camera.
It's your phone.
I'll go, sorry.
Is that your sir? Yeah.
I was a little bit late, sorry, so when you asked me to declare an interest,
Yes.
I need to declare an interest around walking in blue.
Right,
Bloomers.
okay, the bloomers, right, okay, no problem. It's so recorded.
Thank you.
Marvellous. Right, well, we'll reconvene the meeting then and get on with the rest of the agenda. So, the next item is item 5, that's the Planning and Development Environment Committee. So, can I ask Solicitor to present the report and its recommendations? Yeah, over to you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
I think
those who declare an interest, I'll just let them
Yeah,
leave the room.
we need
first.
to leave
Let
that,
me
yeah.
on that front.
I'm taking you back to the 5th of December now, so if you turn to the meeting on the 5th of December, we go to page 15. We did look at a number of planning applications and sent our comments appropriately to the City Council. But let me just highlight bullet point D, where we are trying to get contact with the Enforcement Office from City Council to attend a future meeting to discuss the importance regarding enforcement of hours of higher multiple occupation. That response has not been received yet, but we do need to have some kind of meeting because a lot of issues come up in regard to HMOs and a lot of residents have concerns about it. It's something the Town Council needs to be highlighting, really. Going on to page 16, if you look at the bullet points at the bottom of page 16, this was all about feedback and reflecting on the success of last year in regard to Morecambe in Bloom. And we've got some very innovative plans in place, particularly in regard to engaging with the younger generation and getting involved, getting schools involved and you'll see those bullet points there. I won't go through them all, but I would hope you would accept them and agree with them. We've got a lot more work to do in the next year in regard to that. We don't really need to defend this goal and do better next year. Up ourselves and let's go above goal, really. There isn't above goal, but that's what we need to aspire to do. Going on to page 18, we were responding to a consultation in regard to open spaces, and you can see the bullet point at the bottom of 18, and our comments basically saying that there is insufficient green and space within the Morecambe area, so that's basically what we're saying, really. Let's go forward to this year, though, and one or two interesting points. We had quite an interesting meeting on the 10th of January. We did do a lot of work in regard to analysing planning applications. Turn to page 21. This is quite a contentious one and caused a lot of concern for residents in the Torrizome area. Grave concerns, really. And it's a planning application for a unit which houses young people. We're not sure how it's going to be operated, but we are wanting assurances from the City Council to enable residents or councillors, if they have any concerns or complaints, to have an actual contact number so we can forward those concerns. There has been complaints in the past, I believe, about this establishment as well, so that's for noting. Going on to page 23, oh dear, we did have a lot of discussion on these planning applications, and they're all, they're all highlighted below. We are, forwarding our concerns to the City Council. We are quite hopeful that the City Council will reflect on our concerns, but I'll just highlight bullet point 9, which generates a lot of debate regarding to the sea wall. And we are asking, we are wanting to see, it's a shame that they have to demolish the toilet block. It's going to be costly to upkeep, but we are affirming our wish for a replacement toilet to be put in place, because it is a long way to walk from one end of the promenade for visitors to the other. So we do need to see some work there. It's maybe a piece of work we need to do with the liaison committee or something to try and get some replacement provision put in place for toilets. Going on to the next page, this is to do with the Morecambe Bloomers, which I've attended one or two meetings and been quite in at meetings, and there's a lot of dedication there. It is to do with getting funding to do funding projects, and it's something that Mr. Attek was raising earlier on. He's left now, hasn't he? But it is something I would hope that we can, that this funding is open to all groups. All groups can bid for this community fund, and I would dearly hope that Morecambe Bloomers would bid for some funding, because it is a worthwhile project. It's a project that we need to develop all across Morecambe to enable us to achieve goal next year. I'm particularly passionate about doing the West End, but I think other areas of Morecambe do need to have work as well that Mr. Attek was raising. It was a great pleasure to go and help some of the Bloomers when we were working on Victoria Street at the train station, and Councillor Dennison was there as well. Both Mr. and Mrs. Dennison, Councillor Hutton was there as well. It was really enjoyable. They were doing work in your community on gardens is something that we should promote. It promotes your well-being, and it makes the area look nice as well, and you can feel proud of yourself when you see the end result next year. You can say, oh, I planted that. So I do hope you accept those recommendations.
Do we have a second of further recommendations for that? Or John, any further? Are there any questions or points? Councillor Dennison?
No, it was...
Are you going to vote already?
No, it was second that.
Oh, right.
The principle of the walling one was actually had made a formal observation, but it just didn't seem to have got in the system. But I did declare an interest because I had done that, as did the chair.
Thank you.
On another matter.
So are there any questions from members? Right, we'll move to debate then. Does anybody want to debate the recommendations in the report? No? No? Right, we'll vote on the recommendations as a whole then in that case. So all those in favour of those recommendations? That's clearly carried, thank you very much. Right, we can get our colleagues back in.
Old lady locked in the lounge.
And we've lost one as well.
Come on, baby.
Nobody's told me about the racket ball, not in the car.
What in Leslie up to?
Get the kid out of this state. We'll get to this state. Oh, right, okay. Not locked in. That's a full compliment.
Come on, baby, we're worried about you.
I thought you got locked in.
Well, I'll take it in our door.
Okay, right then. We're going to now move on to item 6, which is the Finance and Management Committee, and you'll find these in pages 25 to 50 in your supporting packs. And therefore I'll ask the chair of that committee, Brendan Rees, to move the report and its recommendations.
So it's budget time of year. We'll start at 25. So actually, if we go to 27, I'll just move all the pre-stuff before we move the budget, or attempt to move the budget. So page 27 is basically to arrange, the highlights of it are to arrange code of conduct training for all members, and obviously to put the clerk and assistant clerk on freedom of information training due to the number of requests which we're getting, just to give them a bit more backing on procedure. At the bottom of 27, the internal auditor's report, which we passed no problems whatsoever, so that's good news. So that's basically 27. We're moving forward with a payment card for the clerk to use. This is not a credit card, so David's not going to disappear to the Bahamas on it. It's basically a top-up card, so we'll top up £500 for ongoing costs. Because at the minute, if we want to buy anything that we can't be invoiced for, David or Abby has to pay for it on their own bank card, and we have to pay David back, which is crackers. So we're proposing that we get a payment card, top-up card, put £500 on it for ongoing expenses, and they'll go through exactly the same process as we have now, but instead of David paying for it and us writing David a cheque, we'll use his card. So if we can move those on page 27.
Okay, and you have a seconder? Before debate, are there any questions about those recommendations specifically in the report? Any questions at all? No? Would anyone like to debate those recommendations at all?
Can I,
On page 27.
can I just ask something?
John, okay. Oh, question, yeah.
On this expenditure, I thought we were going to get £5,000 for the...
27 one.
27, we're on page 27. Those recommendations there.
Oh,
So that's why I'm moving in.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's the best way, I think, to know. Right, so that's a no then. Right, no debate? Okay, we'll move to the vote on those recommendations in particular then. All those in favour of accepting those recommendations? Right, marvellous. Thank you, that's clearly carried.
Page 26 as well.
26 as well, yeah?
Yeah.
And 27.
Yeah, so
Oh, sorry, I should have said up to.
Up to 27. Okay, would you like to talk us through the rest?
Yeah, the next one's on page 28, and it's the reserves policy. Colleagues have worked quite hard on this policy actually, and speaking to the auditor and getting a proper opinion on it. I think actually it's probably best if David gives us the actual lowdown on it. If you don't mind, David. On the reserves policy, that Appendix E is basically information from the auditor.
What page are you on?
28.
28.
Sorry. Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Hughes. At the annual audit in May this year, one of the main things the internal auditor pointed out, he didn't think that this council held enough reserves. We did have some reserves, but he didn't think we had enough. And he said that there's no exact law or guidance for exactly how much we should have, but his recommendation was that all councils like us should hold as a reserve the money that is equivalent to 26 weeks of expenditure, i.e. 6 months of expenditure. So if you take that really simply and look at the precept, which is 186,000 at the moment, you could argue that we need reserves of half that amount, because that's our revenue budget, which would total £90,000. When we met him to discuss this, because myself in my position, I didn't think that some of our expenditure, for instance, is festivals related, as an example, and I wasn't sure why we needed a reserve to cover that type of expenditure, because if the event doesn't happen, we don't give them the money, so our money is not lost. So when we met him again with Councillor Mr Dennison and the Chairman of the Council in November, we discussed all these points, which have resulted in this policy which is here now, which he's happy with. So he gave us a template very similar to this policy here, and we've written this to take on his guidance and where this council's at this moment in time. So what this policy is recommending, you would have to do if you agree it, is that at all times you would have to hold £55,000 in an office fund. So the reason that's there, for those who are not sure, is because we rent this room from Lancaster City Council. That's on a lease until 2020, but they could, at 6 months' notice, could remove us from that room, at which point we need to find alternative accommodation. So that's something in reserves we definitely need to cover. Asset replacement fund, obviously we do own some assets, such as the SPID now, equipment, computers, etc. So quite rightly they should be covered. The election fund needs to be a reserve because we don't know when the election is going to be, so we need something in reserve to cover that eventuality. He's happy with this policy and the numbers there. In going into the budget item, what you need to be aware of, for instance, use the election fund as an example, is this year you've got £12,000 in your election budget. That's likely to be all spent when the City Council finally get around to invoicing it. And we still haven't done that, so I can't advise you how much it'll cost, but I think it will almost be £12,000. So that will go, which means in next year's budget you need to take £6,000 out of your precept or from somewhere to put it in this reserve fund, because this policy says we must always have £6,000 in that fund, if that makes sense to everybody. So similarly, if during the next few months, next year, we have to replace an asset for whatever reason, next year when you do the budget, this fund will have to be topped back up to the level in this policy from your revenue budget. So that's the, people need to understand hopefully they do, the fundamentals of how that works. One question we did say to the auditor, obviously we're insured for like the toilets, the spin and everything else, so you could argue that our insurance means you wouldn't need to have this amount of reserve. The problem being, use the toilets as an example, something breaks or is vandalised in the toilets, at the time of year when we do open them, we'll want to repair that and open them as soon as possible. So your reserve will be used to do the repair work, because as we all know, insurance will take a long time to sort out usually. So that's where your reserve would come in to help you, and then the insurance company would go back into the reserves. In my report to the Finance Committee, speaking in my job, it says in here, does it refer to the general reserves? The auditor doesn't think that needs to go in here because the amount in here covers you. So we do have a small general reserve fund as well, which will be to cover times of staff absence, etc., or other things that aren't covered by those things. I did say at Finance Committee I thought that should be more than what it is, and I know the recommendation for Finance is to keep it where it was, but my professional opinion was that reserve fund needs to be a little bit higher than it is. But obviously that's up to the council. And the reason I'm saying that is because the most likely call on the general reserves is there's 2 members of staff. If both of us, I don't know, get knocked down by a bus tomorrow and are off work for a long time, at the same time you'll need to buy in some temporary staff and still pay us for a little bit of time as per our contracts. So that's how it is. So the 9,000 wouldn't cover you even for 3 months on that. So that's why I think it should be a little bit more. And I just thought I'd say that there when I'm talking about reserves. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks David. So I'm looking to move the recommendation on page 28 to do with the reserves policy set out in Appendix E, which is on page 48.
Yes, thank you.
It's really a question, just that obviously at the meeting we, as our group, did feel that the reserve policy was certainly inadequate, and in the budget we do look to enhance that. So I think under these circumstances, because of that, we will abstain on this matter because it's a matter of concern that we do raise. Thank you.
Okay.
And reserve the right to speak, obviously.
Okay, no problem. Any other points that anybody wants to make? Right. Would you like to? Anybody want to debate the moving of this at all? Any more than we already have?
John, asking a question that just comes to mind, Chairman.
Over to you then, in which case.
Right.
Please
In view of the fact that the RFO's recommendation that the staffing reserve isn't quite high as it should be, I would quite like to know, perhaps the Chair of Finance could tell me what they will do in the event that they do need more.
Obviously, David's opinion is held high within the council by us all. I certainly feel that it's unlikely that both officers are going to be on the sick or in an accident or can't get in the building at the same time. And if that does happen, I'd be very surprised if it happens for more than 3 months, because if that does happen, it would take us at least 4 weeks to find a replacement. So I'm first of all hoping that doesn't happen, and I think it's very unlikely, and that's the reason.
You didn't really actually answer the question I asked, Chairman, which was,
Yeah.
in that unlikely event,
Yeah.
what will you do?
We will have to find the money.
Can I
Any
just
more?
say something?
Linda, yes, please do.
Presumably, if somebody was on long-term sick leave, they're entitled to full pay for 6 months, am I right? Yeah.
That's
So
right.
you're looking at, you've got to cover 6 months.
In that event.
I would say.
I've got another question. If you don't mind. In the event of such a misfortune and calamity before us, we will presumably claim back some statutory sick pay, won't we? Somewhere along the line. Is that accounted for in the budget?
No.
Right. In that case, I'm not quite so worried about your approach.
There's a sort of a deliberate within the schemes that you've probably looked at already that's going to be debated later. There are certain potential incomes that haven't been calculated because they're not there yet. Well, you're absolutely right to identify them as things that would happen. Jim?
Yeah, I just wondered if the worst did happen, you know, we had to get some external staff in, where would we be likely to get it from? And would they be expected to be on the same pay scale as the insurance officers? Or from some arrangement, you know? Well, it all depends on the exact circumstances, how long they're expected to be off work for.
It certainly would, wouldn't it? Brandon, it's kind of an issue for the personnel committee to kind
Yeah,
of
I'll have a go at that. But it is for personnel, and without, you know, crystal ball, I think we'd struggle to replace David within 4 weeks anyway. So I think if they both went off, the least of our worries would be trying to find money to replace them and pay them. That would be the absolute least of our worries. My initial worry would be who's opening the office, who's sitting in the office until we find another member of staff. So I think the finances are the least of our worries. And maybe if we wanted to look into it in more depth, like you say, Jim, then we need to come up with some sort of plan, a business continuity plan, in case it does happen. And probably at that point we'll be able to properly fund the plan. Because the figures are a bit, yeah, this happens, if that happens. So I suppose what I'm recommending actually is that we maybe take that to finance management, come up with a business continuity plan that we can fund properly, and try to answer some of those difficult questions.
It is so noted. Yes, Roger.
Just to get it clear, that the hypothetical we talked about is one of potentially 1,000 things that could crop up, and that's why the auditor has recommended that we have a much greater budget. Now, we are going to vote on a budget tonight. Now, the budget tonight, I don't know what other budgets come forward. I do know that we will make a budget that actually meets all those requirements. But one of the problems is that if you pass a budget that is, for example, unsustainable or has no reserves at all, then it's very difficult to have a future finance meeting where you say, yeah, well, okay, we're going to find 5,000 from wherever, when the wherever has gone. And I think you've got to be very careful about, you know, like willing to say, oh yeah, we'll find it. Because we have a limited resource. We have spent a lot of that limited resource. I'm presuming that budgets going ahead will spend an awful lot more of those limited resources. And can I quote this a bit over? That expenditure 1906, income 20 shillings, happiness, income 20 shillings, expenditure 20 shillings and sixpence, penury. We've got to be very, very clear that we prepare a budget that is not going to be a budget that suddenly we find towards the end and possibly before an election we run out of money.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that. I suppose given that I was in the room with the auditor, the auditor with you, I probably should make a comment from the conversation. The level of reserve you set is based on the actual risk that you're subject to, and I think we can all recognise that. There will be a variant from a low end of reserves to a very high end reserve because it's a reflection of the risk that you've identified. When you identify risks, of course, you also identify the possibility of them occurring, not just whether they could occur, but how likely they are as well. And that's why the auditor, when we spoke with the gentleman when he came to us, which was extremely helpful, I have to say, and gave us a range of options on percentages of the revenue budget that you could set and aim for in a medium-term strategy. And we're not going to debate the budget just now, but that is the advice that we've given us. Right. Are there any other people who want to contribute before we move to the vote on this recommendation, and then we can move on to the major piece of business? Nobody else? Okay. So all those in favour of accepting the recommendations in the report, please show. Obviously, there's attention to bring in a minute. Okay, no worries. Thank you. Against? And just for the record, abstentions. Thank you very much indeed. Right, and over to you again, Brandon.
Okay, thank you. So, at the budget, so on 28, page 28 is where we started. I think you'll be able to see that the budget that was brought forward in finance and management. I think there'll be plenty of questions, no doubt. So instead of me just going through it bit by bit, we'll just bring up some of the key points and we'll just play straight into questions and go from there. Yeah? Okay, so within this budget we're looking to freeze council tax for the 9th consecutive year, introduce a 2-year project to help families from deprived areas of the town, a 2-year project to reduce the social isolation of the elderly in wards where that happens, commission a community sort of garden fund, if you will, to help with those projects, commit to continuing the contribution to the safety of the town via the CCTV, give a with inflation pay increase for staff, rejecting austerity in the public sector, introduce the community newsletter, procure another speed camera to help with public safety in schools, to help with fly tipping. We're looking at procuring a mobile digital CCTV camera from the City Council to really target those back streets, which no doubt your residents, I hope they email you about, because we do really need to get a grip of the issue. Maintain funding for community grants, festival funding, Christmas lights, and obviously Morecambe in Blue. I think that's my time then. So that's the overview. You've all got the budgets in front of you. You've all had time to read them. Roger, you've probably got something to hand out there, no doubt. And I'll just leave it at that.
Right, before we move into debate, can we have questions and then debate, which will presumably start with any movement of any amendments?
Yes.
I anticipated that. So he's moved it, you're second as a vice chair. Are there any questions about the recommendations that Brendan has just gone through from a cleric effect? Yes, Councillor Hanson.
Last meeting we had, you said we could have £5,000 towards this police and antisocial behaviour. Is that in this? I can't see it. We took a vote on it. For the £5 just to be there if we need it. We took a vote and the vote carried. And I can't see it.
Yeah, it's not. It doesn't particularly say for that, but I mean, you could look at the community improvement fund for that. There's £7,000 in there, and instead of sort of ring fencing £5,000 that you may or may not spend on that, you can just go onto the community improvement fund.
So it's there if we need it. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, the funds are definitely there if you need them. Yeah.
That's fine. Yeah, I can say that.
Yeah, Max, question?
Thank you, Chair. You know these school parliament that we're doing, or
Yes.
pupil parliament, because I'm sort of in the midst of organising that. The money's still in the budget till April, is it?
It's still there in this year's budget, so you won't see it in the numbers here, but it is still there in time.
Thank you.
Jim?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I think we've put the thing in for the neighbourhood plan to progress on that. We not need a little bit of money there to kind of forward that.
There's no money.
Neighbourhood plan, did you get that question?
Sorry, I didn't hear it. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry then. Right at the end of your budget, there's nothing included to progress the neighbourhood plan.
Chair.
Can't hear it.
Done it.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, go, sorry, try.
Right, sorry. You've made no provision in the budget for forwarding the neighbourhood plan or meetings to progress that forward.
Yeah, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, David, but did we not fund that from a grant last time?
Okay, we got a grant 2 years ago, which we spent on where we've got to now on the neighbourhood plan. So on the current funding streams by the government, you're allowed to apply for up to £9,000. We've currently had a grant of 4,400 and something, I think it was. So we could only apply for another £4,500. So we have lots of work to do on the plan, a lot of meetings, more consultation. So you need to make that judgment. I can't guarantee that they'll give you a grant when you apply for it as well. You need to make that judgment, would £4,500 be enough? And the process you've got to go through is going to be quite costly. Meeting rooms cost quite a lot for starters. And the consultation exercise will need to be at least 2 more of those. You can use your newsletter a little bit, which if that going through, I suppose you have a budget for that. But I will be concerned we probably wouldn't have enough money in the grant if we got it to cover the whole cost. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense, David, and I don't think that's been brought up in finance and management by anybody up to this point, which it would have been nice to bring it up on the night, and then we could have sorted it out there and then. So I was thinking on the top of my head here, I'm presuming that the £9,000 grant, government think that's enough to get a neighbourhood plan through, do they?
Yes.
In their opinion.
In their opinion, yes, but we've already had half of that and used it.
Right. Alright. Okay, just give us a second to think about it.
Right, it is one of those where we're not entirely sure how much it's going to cost to be able to get it over the line, presumably. Of course, you do have the I think what you've called the growth reserve that the auditor wants us to allocate in some fashion or other, and it hasn't so far. And that may well be an option to move that part of the agenda forward, possibly, to ensure that we can offset any higher cost if the rest of the grant from central government doesn't quite get us through the gate on that neighbourhood plan, because of course it needs to be in next year, isn't it? So. Sorry, I've got Terry Jim, sorry. Was this a follow-up on the original question? Sorry. No. Terry, do you have a question?
Yeah, on this draft MBI budget, on festivals.
Yeah, we're not debating that yet.
Budget now. We're debating what you're proposing.
It's a question on the budget that Brendan has proposed. The amendment that will be moved by Councillor Denison presently can be debated once he's moved it. So we're not talking about those proposals right now. In fact, because it's only just been presented, members may want to have a recess and have a chat about it before they move into that part of the meeting anyway, as is as is typical of all the council meetings that we've been to many times. So, are there any questions about that? Michelle?
Sorry, it's just that I don't know how to move that.
Oh, the amendment, did that not make its way to you?
No.
Right. Sorry, yes, obviously the folder obviously didn't snake its way around the back properly there. We'll get to them to you.
Please. I didn't know what was in the folder.
Hang on, Chair, we're not on the amendment yet.
No, we're not.
We're not at the amendment.
Members were just making sure they had the documentation. Are there any further questions on the budget proposals that Councillor Hughes has moved and Councillor Hanson has seconded specifically? John?
The question isn't particularly about the proposals. I mean, we will debate this in due course. But it's about the notion that you, once again, for the 9th year on the trot, you've not proposed an increase in the precept. Now, 9 years is a long time to go. Now, I know we've been living through times of relatively low inflation and all the rest of it, but I suspect that's going to change in the near future. And I also suspect that regardless of what we do this year, you won't want to raise the precept next year because it's an election year. And people are notoriously very unwilling to raise budgets and to raise precepts then. So I just wonder if there is room for a slight increase this year to take us over this year and next year. The point is, I'd like to know if you discussed it and if so, why you took the decision not to increase it.
Yeah, I think it's a good question, and you're right. I don't think a rise next year be very sensible, and probably not the done thing. Really, we looked at what we wanted to do, the precept that was coming in, and we felt that we could cover everything we wanted to do without raising council tax. Every man and his dog's raising council tax, from the Crown Commissioner to the county to the city, everybody's raising council tax. And to be quite honest, my personal view on it was, I pay enough council tax, people in this room pay enough council tax, and even though an increase wouldn't be much, it would still, I think the message we'll be sending out is the town council are increasing as well. Personally, I don't think it was the right thing to do. That was the honest answer, John.
Chair, sorry, just a question.
Chairman, finance is quite right. Everybody is going to be raising council taxes. Our element of the overall council tax that people pay is minuscule. It's tiny. No one will notice the fact that we haven't raised it. And actually, there's a strong political argument that if government is to understand what life is like for people in this country, I'm afraid these things are going to happen. And I don't see why we should necessarily exclude ourselves from it.
Thank you, John. I don't know whether people are aware of this, but our precept, which is £19.59 at the moment, the average for England and Wales for parishes is £60. Average £60. So we are at the very, very lowest end. But again, that's a debate for councillors to decide whether you feel it's appropriate to raise that. So you raise a very important point, John. Jim?
Yeah, I mean, I'm on the finance committee, and during the chat we had, looking at the figures, I was convinced that the budget stacked up without the need to increase the presets. I have no problem with increasing it if it's necessary. The way I looked at the figures, it wasn't necessary. So
that's because you created a budget that fitted the precept.
I'm sure this is all going to be interesting for debating purposes in a very, very short amount of time. Are there any other questions?
one thing.
Oh, sorry, yes, Richard, yeah, and Jim.
Sorry, did you was it supplementary? I'll talk on that first.
Yes, please.
Thank you. It's really a question in your statement about increasing the clerk and presumably the deputy clerk's remuneration. How are you proposing this to be done? The only way I can see that can be done is to, under the existing conditions of service, is what amounts to technically a regrade. Is that what you propose?
Leading question there, my friend. I'm not on personnel committee. I can't get into regrades because we're not part 2. Well, you can see the budget in front of you, and that's money we're going to spend on it. How we do it is down to personnel sort out.
Chair, I really need to respond to that.
Please do.
Because you have set a budget. When you set a budget, you've got to know the cost of things. If you don't know the cost of things, you really shouldn't set a budget for covering that amount. I can remind you at that meeting, you were told that part of the cost that's accrued to the council, which is quite unexpected, was a very large increase in pension and other contributions. Now, if you're proposing to do an increase in that nature and you're not taking into account all the consequential costs that might come from that, then your budget will be unsustainable. So you really do have to tell us, how are you going to raise the money and how much will that money be? Thank you.
Roger, you can see what's in the budget. How do you mean, how am I going to raise it? Within the precept. So, within the precepts, we know how much we're getting, we know the percentage increase, Roger, we know the percentage increase, that local government are saying, we know the figures, we know how much David's on, we know how much the pension increase is going to be. It's all factored in, and it's there in front of you.
Sorry, with the greatest respect, there's no factored costing. You're proposing an increase and you're not showing what the cost of the increase is going to be. That's lunacy in a budget. You've got to show what the cost is going to be, or at the very least, an overall estimate of what the cost is going to be.
Yeah. I'm told it's on page 35, so just so I could. However, June, you had a question?
Yes, please. To Chair of Finance again. On the second page, school parking, you put £3,000 into your budget for school parking. What does that entail? We're already spending £3,750 on the SPID.
What page are you reading from, sorry, June?
Sorry, it's your budget page, and it's just over the page. About halfway down.
Which?
Sorry.
Sorry, we just... That's your budget, is it, Jim?
No.
If I may be slightly helpful, that's the outturn for this financial year. That £3,000 has not been used at all, so it's been reallocated in the new proposals. So it's not this year's.
All right, thank you. Okay.
That's
Yeah,
right.
just put 3,000.
I can. I anticipate there's going to be an amendment moved and seconded, presumably, which is absolutely right.
I need, obviously...
And given that you've presented us with your amendments just now, would you like to move and then second and allow members the opportunity to have a recess and sit down and have actually a proper read of it, or would you prefer for us to have a recess now and then move and second it forward formally and tell us your thoughts around it?
I think, given the circumstances and given the constraints of time, provided I can make a statement about the existing budget and our recommendations that we don't vote for it, we will quite happily put our budget to the vote, and then as a subsequent we will put the second budget to the vote, and we'll do that. But I think on the final budget we will be asking for a recorded vote. Thank you.
Yeah, well, you're entitled to do that anyway.
Yeah. Just to let you know.
So, well, in that case, given that members have just been given the documentation, I want to give you the opportunity to decide whether you want to break at this point, to read it properly and discuss it in your groups, or whether you want to just go through it line by line with Councillor Dennis and now.
Let's get it over with, line up here, right?
Okay, good enough. In which case, can you formally move your amendment, please?
Well, I think in the first instance, I'm entitled to comment on the budget that's already been put forward. I will then follow it with that one if that's in accordance with procedure. I mean, obviously, yes, we are going to put the budget forward. We do believe, even though it is a budget that meets all the auditors' requirements and everything else, it will do. But I think, in general terms, I've been asked to comment on the Labour Party's Morecambe Town Council budget for 2018 and 19. I have to say that I cannot be very complimentary. It's normal to comment to suggest a rushed and chaotic budget has been worked out on the back of a cigarette packet. In this case, a postage stamp would be more appropriate. It fundamentally fails to realise the difference and the budgetary consequences of such confusion between capital and revenue budget. It also breaches our plight. It's normal courtesy. You don't talk. Somebody else is talking. Margaret. Thank you very much. It fundamentally fails to realise the difference and the budgetary consequences of such confusion between capital and revenue in the budget. It also breaches the commonly accepted principle, which has been followed over the budget since the formation of the Town Council, that you cannot carry over spending commitments between an electoral process. We met with a new external auditor in November 2017, and silly me, I thought the Labour Party had taken his strong advice and recommendations on board. The continuation of existing spending commitments and the addition of new spending commitments in the tens of thousands will produce a budget that, in the terms of our pre-set income of under 190,000 a year, is unsustainable. Under these two circumstances, there will only remain two options. One, to increase the council tax, which John has put forward, or two, to cut provisions and services. And once we have voted to keep the council tax where it is, the options will be to cut provisions and services. And I think people need to be very clear. I've asked the specific question. The amount of money that's been put forward and shown in the budget is showing the current increase on the pension contributions for the clerk. There is a, shall we say, an aspiration in the Labour budget for an improved pay response, but that is not costed. Neither is the equivalent increase that you'll get for the pensions. None of these are costed. They're all, wouldn't it be nice if, and we're transferring between various budgets. But again, it fundamentally fails to realise the difference and the budgetary consequences of such confusion between a capital and a revenue budget. What you're doing is moving all your capital, in a lot of these cases, into revenue so that they're spent. It's gone. We ain't going to get it back. I've noticed emails with Councillor Pilling, and we've got management, but that's, I think, later on. I have to say to you, and I've quoted Mr McCoy, under all the above circumstances, I hope all members realise the consequences of adopting the Labour budget before us tonight. And I strongly recommend to all members of whatever persuasion that this budget not be adopted. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And that's you formally moving in, is it?
Yep.
And we do have a formal seconder for the recommendation. Jane. Right, thank you very much. At this stage, I want questions on the amendment, please, if I may. Claire.
I'd like to ask a question about your festivals budget. Exactly how do you propose to bring people into town with 2 festivals a year?
We have reviewed the expenditure that's gone on festivals, and as a general view, apart from the festivals that we mentioned, they do not represent great value in bringing things forward for Morecambe. We have, as our group, quite specifically said, our greatest concern is public safety for everyone in Morecambe, and that is why we have introduced, with the help of the Police and Crime Commissioner, an introduction of 2 new PCSOs to be funded in the area. We have felt that that is better value for the people. Look, I'm going to give you the answer that you originally asked.
Ask the question. If you've got a second question.
If you've got a second question, I'll answer that one. But I'm answering your first question. That we reviewed that, and we feel that the proposal that we made, which was actually a commitment that we made when our colleagues were elected, that we were going to do that, and we will keep our promises. Thank you.
That actually wasn't what I asked. I was asking how will you propose, with only 2 festivals a year, to bring anybody into the town? PCSOs, we've already made the decision on those, and nice as they may be, they're not a tourist attraction for the town. That was the question I was asking, how you were actually going to attract tourists into the town with 2 festivals a year. Yeah.
The principle that I'm trying to say to you is actually it's a complete change of direction. What we're doing is actually doing things for the people of Morecambe, not for some theoretical external group that would like to come. We have quite clearly recognised that the 2 festivals which have the best economic effects are the 2 that we have said that we will remain funding for them. And many of these, and you've got to look at Lancaster and all the equivalent areas, that there is an active community that provides these. It is not something that you can do with public spending. The principle of this is what happens year on year on year. The same people come back asking for the same or more money, and we actually feel under those circumstances that is not value for money. What we are concerned of is the people in. It would be nice to be quiet when somebody's replying, please. It's not an impossible thing to do. We are of the view that we would like to maintain the safety of the people of the whole of Morecambe and work with the provision that have already been made to provide a coordinated service. Most people have concerns about dog fouling. Most people complain about antisocial behaviour. Most people have concerns about littering. This is quite right. You can't stop it with cameras, but if you prosecute people, that'll stop them. We are putting the resources in place to carry out those works and to carry out those actions to help the people of Morecambe and to make their lives more sustainable in that respect. And it is a matter that they have all said that they would like to have done. And it is a commitment that we have made when we were elected and at the recent elections, and we're keeping our promise.
I have concerns about how you bring jobs into Morecambe, and that was...
It's questions.
Yeah.
We'll do a debate in a second. It's questions just to the mover of the amendment, please. Brendan Hughes.
Yeah, you make an interesting point there about catching fly tipping, things like that. I've got quite a lot of experience in this field. My role on the City Council. My question is, without the use of CCTV, yeah, which is what we've put in for, how are you going to secure conviction for the people of Morecambe that it's all roundly safe? Because I know you can't do it without visual evidence and proof.
In the vast majority of cases, unless you can find clear identification of a person or a piece of, for example, the registration of the vehicle, yeah, you can use CCTV cameras, but if you're caught by a police officer, you're nicked. That's the simple truth. that you will not, all of these cameras at the moment, you have currently no convictions in the Morecambe area for fly tipping. No convictions in the Morecambe area for fly tipping. Putting cameras up, and I think I would make a point. What are you going to do? You're going to move these cameras around. As soon as the camera's installed, the tipping will move elsewhere. The principle of taking prosecutions, as with dog fouling as an equivalent, is having people there who actually confront the individual that's done it. Once those individuals come in front of the courts, that's the biggest deterrent. Cameras help, convictions produce results.
Have a follow-up?
Yeah, of course you can. Yeah.
I know loads about this subject, Roger. You can go all day, but I suppose the question will be: are you aware that you wouldn't have control over the PCSOs and where you couldn't place them where you wanted them? And secondly, are you aware PCSOs don't have any powers over fly tipping?
You'll be interesting to note the comments of the Police and Crime Commissioner, and we have put forward to the local constabulary exactly what we put forward in the budgets that before you, because specifically we said that that's what it's got to be used for. And at the moment it's passing up the chain. I believe it's got to Chief Superintendent level, and at the moment nobody's turned around and said, no, we're not accepting that. I'll come back to your original thing. I know all about this, you said, but I'm telling you, I know all about, we haven't got a conviction for fly tipping in Morecambe. Until we do, there will not be the deterrent in place.
John?
I only have one question really. This budget of the MBI budget, was this put to the Finance Committee meeting?
No, the budget was prepared in December, and actually, given the Finance Committee meeting, it was asked that we needed to revise the budget, and I think the clerk will confirm that a lot of figures needed to be revised. It would have been inappropriate to put a budget out, which we had prepared at that time, where there was inaccuracies in the amounts of monies concerned.
Can I just ask you supplementary to that?
Indeed you can.
Yeah.
Don't think.
Well, was it the Finance Committee meeting was only last week, wasn't it? The week before, wasn't it? Fairly recent anyway, wasn't it?
Last week?
Yeah.
Last Monday, wasn't it?
Couldn't you have prepared this time to put it before them?
No, what we have, if you look at the finance budget, you will see that the report in the committee meeting gave increases of about 3,200 for pension contributions and what have you in the clerk's salary. Those figures needed to be revised. There was also other shortfalls which were identified, and I actually have been in correspondence by email with the clerk trying to make sure, because specifically in our budget we made sure that there was a large contribution to training, and under those circumstances we did not wish to damage that budget because of the necessity for training. But it proved not possible to do that. The revisions have been taking place virtually until, I think, if the clerk will confirm, we've actually kept, to try and make the budget balance, we've done revisions up to yesterday.
Just in the interest of clarity, I'll ask a question myself. It sounds like what you're referring to is not a budget proposal, but what the outturn is, which does change as we move forward. Those two things are related, but you can still move a budget without knowing what the full outturn of the financial year is.
The principle of the budget that we produce is that the budget should be sustainable and should meet with the requirements for a budget that was agreed that there to be no council tax increase, and that was the fundamental that drove our budget considerations.
Sorry, yeah, I've got Councillor Hanson and then I've got James. I've seen you.
From a personal perspective,
Janice is first on and I'll come to you, James. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'd just like to ask, what evidence do you have to suggest that we need to reinstate PCSOs at the cost of £22,000? I think that would give us 2 PCSOs. And where would you put those two PCSOs? one in Torresholme and one in Bear, I think that might be. And the fact that the Crime and Police Commissioner is putting his council tax up by 12%, that I think, you know, he can more than afford PCSOs. We don't have to. We've put in environmental enforcement officers and antisocial behaviour officers. We do not need to be reinstating PCSOs.
Is there a question in our future, Councillor Hanson?
Yeah, what evidence has he got to suggest that we need them?
Okay, thank you.
And also, the other question...
Can you do one question? Can you do one question? Do you want to do go on then,
Yeah.
do the second one.
And the other one is the community centre and town council office funds. You've reduced that from 55,000 to 2,000. Yeah, that's a big saving. But we've got here 55 and it's gone down to 2.
I think I would stop while you're losing.
Sorry, what do you mean? I beg your pardon. That's what's in here.
I think you failed to, you can't read the budget properly. It's an increase.
An increase?
An increase.
Oh, I see. I beg your pardon.
Thank you.
So you're increasing that to 57.
We don't make that clear. Why do you put 57?
Yeah, why do you put 57 down instead of 2?
I'd like to be arguing that.
Perhaps if the clerk would by way of thing, it is the standard method of doing it. It does confuse a lot of people, I appreciate that. The antisocial behaviour, the WhatsApp officers, have come in at about £28,000 for about 1.5 officers. What you're getting from the Police and Crime Commission, and I quite like to say that, Janice, yes, it's excellent, because in actual fact, given his budget increase, he's seen quite generously to say that they will fund 2/3 of the cost of PCSOs. So in actual fact, in relative terms, we're getting quite good deals. But if you read what I say and what is said by our group in the agenda and in the budget, I beg your pardon, not the agenda, in the budget, we make it quite clear how we wish the PCSOs to be used in these circumstances, and it is a combined effort with all the other agencies involved to produce, for once, a coordinated response. And it is not something that will be specifically in Torresholme or Bear. Hopefully it will be reassurance to people in Torresholme and Bear, but I'm quite sure if we're dealing with antisocial behaviour, a lot of that does not necessarily occur in Torresholme and Bear, but in the wards that you wish to provide festivals for members, we provide safety for members. Thank you.
Right, Jim, you're next.
Thank you, Chair.
You're on.
Should we come to water? 15 minutes ago, and the meeting started almost 90 minutes ago. I just can't, make a decision to support it on that time scale, and I'm sorry about that. But I need to ask for certain clarifications. We just clarified the one about the community centre and town council fund. But are you suggesting that we do away with the newspaper, for instance, and the War Memorial Fund?
I think perhaps clarification, the War Memorial Fund goes on completely uninterrupted. Yes, the newsletter will be removed. It will go into recycling bins at fair rate of knots, and I do not believe that providing a newsletter trying to advertise to councillors to people how good we are, what they want from us is service and performance. Thank you. Sorry, go on.
Supplemental, come on, keep going.
Keep going.
Get questions coming.
Keep going.
You're doing them and then Roger.
I've chopped up with the water.
About the festival fund, I fundamentally disagree with you, and I think that the offer to our tourists is, it's essential for a lot of our businesses, our cafes, our hotels, our F&Bs, and other things, and I think that we should support people coming in. And I think having sit in the grants committee, it became basically obvious that all the festivals that we do fund, they do bring a net contribution to the budget.
I fully agree that well-organised festivals can produce an advantage. We have selected the 2 festivals that clearly produce an effective result. Quiet, please. Thank you very much. I'm answering questions. The principle of the others is that in many cases their results are not necessarily that good. But I've actually drawn the conclusion from Lancaster, and I very rarely draw sensible conclusions from Lancaster. But a great deal of the festival organisations have been carried out by businesses in that area. Now, to be perfectly honest, I agree, businesses need support, but us getting external bodies to provide these things is not effective. I think, particularly, for example, public houses, other organisations getting together and targeting what they want in the festivals and what they want and what advantages it brings to Morecambe is a far more effective process than it being directed by, I have to say in my case, someone very inexperienced in festivals provision. And I actually think those that derive benefit from it should be those that organise and help to fund it. However, I do recognise, as in the 2 cases that we've retained, 2 large festivals that do provide a very good overall public contribution are those that we have retained. But I think in many cases it's the providers and the recipients of the advantages of that need to go. The reduction has been so that we can concentrate on providing more help and assistance for the citizens of the Morecambe area, not from people coming in from outside, because I think those things can be done more effectively by the businesses that derive benefit from them.
Any more, Jim? Or is that you done? From questions point of view? Yeah, well, we haven't started the debate yet, no. Terry, a question, not debate yet.
Yeah, can you explain, you've been, fair play on you, you've worked hard to produce this, I'm not disputing this, but you've been saying community, community, community. So why the hell have you cut the community grants, which goes to local people? And as an aside, on the back page, Town Council ASB team to work up to 10 p.m. at night. You're trying to tell me all the naughty kids go to bed at 10 o'clock? That's when they come out.
Answer that?
I think you'll find that there's 2 things perhaps. If you look at the community budget, after 3 attempts last year, it managed to spend, of the 5,000, about 3,000, and we carried 1,700 forward, and we were going to add 5,000 to that. Now, to be perfectly honest, I have to say, I looked at it and thought, well, hang on, we made 3 attempts to try and find people that want community grants, and we're giving community grants, excellent community grants, that's fine, but we've only managed to spend about 2/3. So what you're going to do is going to increase it again by another third, so it's about approaching £6,700, and hope that next time you're going to use it all. Now, my logic is no, go back to the 5,000, because that's what was there last time. It's exactly the same that was there last year. It's going to be exactly the same as there this year, and hopefully that will come forward. And we've got another question. Okay, fire away.
No, it's not a question, it's an actual comeback. You've been saying you want to save this town money. Would you rather we spent the whole of the community grants budget on, for the sake of spending it, so we've none left, or keep it and use it for decent community events?
I think you fundamentally haven't listened to my answer. My answer was, you've made 3 attempts, in 3 separate attempts, we've gone back and said, well, there weren't enough grants this time, there weren't enough grants this time, there weren't enough grants this time. So you hang on. So you carried forward money, and you said, right, well, we've spent only about 3,002, 3,003 this year. And what you said, we'll carry it over and make it 6,700 next year. I've taken the logical conclusion and said, no, the sensible thing is to put 5,000 in next year and see what happens. And if 5,000 people, that's excellent. But again, I have to say it's a budget that is trying to live within our means. I have made the comments about your budget, so fine, we come to it from a different course of action. We are trying to live within our means and we're trying to make sure that the budget meets that. And we're taking decisions on how the budget is to be spent. But again, I know you've got money hanging about in these budgets. And if you're not spending it, it seems quite sensible to misuse it.
Councillor Denison, we're doing questions and answers.
Well, I'm answering the question. Each time I ask the question, somebody says, what about the community grant? The logical reason was, it was undersold by £1,700, so what we did is said, keep the 5,000. That's the reason why.
Thank you. Well, we got there in the end. Have we got any further questions from you, Councillor Metcalfe, before we move on to all the members, because I've still got a lot of this.
No.
Okay. Max, you're next, and then I've got Michelle, who's been waiting.
Thank you, Chair. This MBI budget is a joke. Yeah, I've got a question. It's done on the back of a stamp. But Councillor Dennis, can I ask you a question? Have you done this budget yourself? Because normally these chairs are empty.